It feels a little bit like a field trip, Rube.
That's right. Kind of like the day in fifth grade when you go to the Liberty Bell.
Yeah, you know what? Once I had a field trip to the sewage treatment plant in my town.
That must have been fun.
It was a crappy day.
I was going to try to avoid it. Yeah.
Today was a much
I
better
mean,
day. Joint
and
practices.
practice was outside Waste Innovations Fieldhouse. So I'm just glad we don't have to write that in our stories every day. Keely Ringo said after practice at Waste Innovations Fieldhouse. How can you have innovative waste? Anyway, let's talk.
This is the Eagle Eye podcast presented by Nissan. He's Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. It was a fun day. Joint practice against the Patriots. Just one this year, but I thought it was a fun morning into the afternoon.
Yeah, it was a long one, over 2 hours. And Nick talked before practice about how ideally he'd like to do 2 sessions and he'd like to do 2 days, but just the way the schedule worked out, early starts of the season, just the way the preseason day of the week was, it just made sense to come up and do one practice. They got a lot of good work in, I thought, against the Patriots.
They did. And look, in general, I think we know the Eagles and Patriots are kind of in a different place in terms of team building. The Eagles are, we think, a Super Bowl contender. The Patriots are not. So if there's a winner of the practice, I think it was clearly the Eagles, but it wasn't like it was a perfect day for them either.
No, I thought it was close. I thought the Patriots did some good things. They do have some good players. I'm not sure they're a great team or good team, but they have some good players, and there was definitely some good back and forth.
Yeah, we have kind of like the same thing we do every day. We'll go through the observations. We talked to Nick Sirianni before practice, a bunch of players after practice, and then we'll answer some questions. But let's start today with kind of the big news of the day. Cooper DeJean, the second-round pick, off the non-football injury list with a hamstring injury he suffered in the lead up to training camp. Didn't do a ton today, did some individual work, but a really positive sign that he's finally back.
Yeah, great sign. I mean, they already a crowded group of young D-backs, and you add in a rookie second-round pick who can play safety, can play in the slot, can play outside corner too. I'm not sure how much we'll see him there, at least immediately, but it's good to have him back. Sidney's still out, CJ's still out, but getting a guy like Cooper, I mean, he missed a lot of time, and he missed all the camp so far. It's valuable reps. I'm sure he did what he could do as far as mental reps, but he needs to be on the field, and it was good to see him out there.
Yeah, I think that's the case. And it was funny. He was asked about what position is he going to play? And he said he's kind of learning the defense as a whole. He mentioned that he was at nickel when things left off in the spring, so that's certainly going to be part of it. But he said he's learning the nickel, he's learning outside corner, and he's kind of keeping up on safety too, which is something he didn't do in the spring, but it might be the path where he could see some playing time this year.
Yeah, there's so many question marks and so many moving pieces and guys who can do different things, guys who can play slot and outside, guys who can play safety and slot, guys who might not make the team, guys who might make the team. So there's a lot of unknowns, and we're just seeing a lot of different combinations, and it could be a couple more weeks before we see everything crystallize.
Yeah, I think that's true, but a really positive sign for Cooper DeJean to be out there at all.
Yeah.
Also back at practice today, Paris Campbell had missed 5 practices with his injury, groin injury. So he was back out just doing individual today, but very curious to see what happens when he's fully healthy, if they kind of toss him back in the mix for wide receiver 3, or maybe his time has kind of passed a little bit.
Yeah, it's a great question, and we'll see. I mean, since he went out, I think Johnny Wilson's done some good things. He might have hit the rookie wall a little bit the last couple of days. Britton Covey has done some really good things. So, yeah, I mean, Tyler Steen got hurt, missed a week and a half, came back, and he lost his job. So, there's that saying that you can't lose your job by getting hurt, but around here you can. And Tyler Steen did. So we'll see if and look, that's the nature of the business. I mean, if somebody better comes along, he should be starting. So we'll see. My gut feeling is that Paris Campbell's not going to just jump back in and be the third guy, but we'll see.
Yeah, hopefully in a day or so he'll be healthy enough to do that. We won't see them for a while because they had the game on Thursday night, so it won't be until Saturday back at practice. But maybe he'll be a full participant by then.
Yeah, Saturday will be the next practice of the NovaCare, and they'll go Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So we'll have a good 3 days to kind of figure a lot of things out.
Still no Oren Burks, still no Grant Calcaterra, no CJ Gardner-Johnson, no Albert Okwuegbunam, no Caden Stearns. We know it's going to take him a little bit of time to get ready. Limited today, Paris Campbell, Cooper DeJean, Mekhi Garner, Brandon Smith. Saw a few guys kind of get banged up today. It didn't look like anyone left practice early, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, Mekhi Garner was out there a lot for a guy who was limited. He played a lot of snaps.
Yeah, he did. He was out there in team drills too, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. So I'm not sure he was technically limited, but he's coming back.
Yeah. I think we have our first significant depth chart item of the day, Nakobe Dean. For the first 11 practices of the summer, it had been Devin White next to Zach Bond with the first team reps. Not today. Today, Nakobe Dean was out there next to Devin White, and then later on, we saw him in there next to Zach Bond.
Yeah, it was good to see, and I think we talked about. I think it was trending this way. Vic mentioned that Nakobe had played well against the Ravens, and we saw Zach Bond struggle a little bit, especially early. He didn't play a whole lot, but Nakobe's played better, I think, the last week and a half, and you just want to see a fair fight. You want to see him be able to compete. And as he's raised his level, the chance came today. And I think that's significant because, boy, it seemed like he was buried behind Zach Bond there for quite a while.
Yeah, I agree with that. We saw some Jeremiah Trotter first team reps as well. And that's been, more consistent over the last week or so. He's been getting more and more of them. He's really earned them.
Yeah, he has. He's been – it's funny if he didn't have the name, if he was just some random 6th-round pick, be like, wow, this kid's really impressive. I mean, he is anyway, but it's almost like his name is Jeremiah Trotter, so you expect it. But he's had a really good summer. Really
yeah, you see exactly what everyone talks about with the instincts with him. He made a play today that we'll talk about, but I've been very impressed. He's just always where he needs to be, and it makes up for any physical limitations he might have.
Yeah, it's interesting, and this linebacker, there's a lot is going to happen at linebacker over the next 3.5 weeks before the opener. That is going to be interesting. I don't know exactly what, but it's in flux, no doubt.
Yeah, no other major depth chart notes, or I saw Isaiah Rodgers and Keely Ringo split reps again. Quinyon Mitchell still the first team nickel. We saw Avonte Maddox taking over for CJ Gardner-Johnson, but then when they're in the dime package, he kind of slides up. James Bradbury replaces him. Tanner McKee got a few more second-team reps. That's kind of been consistent. Johnny Wilson and Britton Covey are splitting that wide receiver 3 role right now. And the last thing was I saw them use some 21 personnel again today. I don't know if it's going to be something they really do, but they've been using it a lot. Yeah,
interesting. I guess they have the personnel for it. I don't think they'll use it a lot, but another twist in the offense.
Yeah, let's do this a little differently today because I really focused on the offense and you really focused on the defense. So we did see a little bit of the other field, but want to just do one side of the ball and then go to the other?
Yeah.
Let's start with their defense because I thought, their defense today really did dominate the Patriots. And look, I don't think that's expected to be a great offense. They're quarterbacked right now by Jacoby Brissett, who's a veteran, but kind of like a lower level veteran. But man, they made a ton of plays today.
They did. And, the secondary looked really good. Keely Ringo was making plays all over the place. Drake May looked a little overmatched. He was holding on to the ball a little too long. And they were making plays on him. And when he completed passes, there was a couple that Keely, they were like 4 or 5 yard gains. And Keely was right there a couple times, making a tackle for a very short gain, knocked a few balls down. He's just so active. And there was one he got called for a penalty, knocked the ball down right at the goal line on a deep ball. I didn't see it, and he was talking to the ref for like 5 minutes afterwards. But he's just really active, and he just knows exactly where the ball's going. He's sticky. I like Rodgers. I think Keely's outplayed him start to finish at camp.
I'm not sure about that. Yeah, I think Keely's coming on strong right now. And there were, he is a little handsy.
He can be.
That's something to keep an eye on with him. I don't know if he's outplayed Rodgers.
Really good. Yeah. It's not a knock on him. I just think he's been really good. I was really impressed with Nolan Smith today.
I think the entire defensive line was like living in that backfield.
They really were. Jordan Davis had a couple. He had a couple stuffs for negative yards on running plays. He just looked really was moving well. I thought Jalen Carter was just wrecking house in there, and these guys have never seen anything like him. There was one play, and it was Patriots running back Kevin Harris actually bowled over Jordan or Jalen Carter at the goal line, and Jalen Carter like looked at him and he followed him, and I was like, "What's he doing?" And he had his hand out, and he like finally he caught up to him, he tapped him on the shoulder, and he turned around, he shook his hand. Like not many people are like running over Jalen Carter, but it was a great practice for him. We
were just talking to our colleague Phil Perry from NBC Sports Boston. He was like, "That Jalen Carter," I'm like, yeah, he's something.
Yeah, I like if he can play like he's playing for the whole season. I don't know how he's not a Pro Bowl player. I don't know how he's not an 8 to 10 sack guy. Tons of tackles for loss, hits on the quarterback. He just gobbles up human beings. It's really fun to watch. So it was like the Patriots don't. I mean, their O-line's not bad, but I mean, he was just picking people up and throwing them. It was pretty good display.
It was fun. Even though I was watching the offense closely, I did see the 2 interceptions from Eagles linebackers. Yeah, how about that?
Linebacker you right here. And it was funny because the one was Nakobe and Zach Bond combining on a play. Nakobe had really nice coverage and knocked the ball away and batted in the air, and Zach Bond caught it in the end zone for a touchback. So that was a good one. And then Trot had an interception. Just that anticipation. He seems to know where the ball's going, and boy, he makes plays on the balls too. He broke on it, and then he looks fast running it back. So, 3 different linebackers who made a big play today.
Yeah, and it was the one in the back of the end zone was Austin Hooper, and I heard some people say maybe he caught it and it was a touchdown, but I don't know if he had it long enough. I thought Nakobe was able to
controlled it. Yeah.
Yeah. Nakobe kind of batted it free. Good hands by Zach Bond to catch that. Good instincts. And later.
Round. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then later I saw Zach Bond bat down a ball at the line of scrimmage too. So he had a nice day.
Yeah. I think all the linebackers did. Really, there's nobody on defense that didn't. It was, I mean, the plays were there to be made. Especially when Brissett was in, like he completed a few passes, but Drake May was a little overmatched. Defense really dominated these drills.
Yeah, Trot was able to pick off Brissett, I believe it was. He kind of stared down KJ Osborne, and I mean, great anticipation and broke on the ball exactly the right time. Maybe he even baited him into that throw a little bit. And he had Green in front of him. I don't know if he would have made it into the far end zone. He had a lot of space in front of him. He maybe gets caught, but it was a great play.
I think he would have gotten caught around the 8. No, I don't know. But yeah, it was, and we see him make those plays more and more.
Yeah. Anyone else on defense kind of stand out to you? I saw Slay had a nice pass breakup at one point. He still looks really good, and he was having fun out there. For a guy this deep in his career, I think a day like this is kind of a welcome change for him.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah, he looked fine. I thought Q had a really good day. Q got beat on his first rep.
That's Quinyon Mitchell, for those of us who aren't best friends with the rookie.
Quinyon Mitchell. At what point can we call him Q? He's a first-round pick.
Yeah, maybe not on first reference.
Second reference, Q. First reference, Quinyon Mitchell, the rookie first-round pick from Toledo. He got beat on his first rep, which was in one-on-ones, and he was kind of like down on himself. I mean, he just made every play the rest of the day. Looked really good. Has a real feel for space and where he is. It's hard to express just how unusual it is to have. And Cooper DeJean, you add him to the mix, and we haven't seen him yet in team. But I mean, to have this many, and then there's Sidney Brown who's not working yet. I mean, they have so many young defensive backs that are fast, instinctive, around the ball, confident. This is the future. I mean, their secondary's in good hands. I mean, CJ's only 26, so I mean, he's going to be around. So these guys are all fun to watch.
Yeah, even James Bradbury made a heck of a play today.
Yes.
On the sideline. It was a pass that was completed, but kind of the veteran savvy move, Bradbury pushed him out of bounds, so didn't count.
On the right sideline.
Yeah, on the right sideline. He looks like a safety to me.
Yeah, and that was a really smart play because he gave up the pass, but he knocked him out of bounds before it was a catch. What do you think? He's starting to think maybe he's here as a second-team safety, backup safety. Doesn't play special teams, but I'm impressed with him. I'm impressed with how he's handled this whole thing, and I'm impressed with how well he's played at safety.
Yeah, he looks the part, and I was really ready for him not to, just because I think it's a hard transition for anyone, but especially someone who's this deep into their career. But a lot of the things that made him a good corner, I'm seeing from him at safety. He was always good in like off coverage because he can drive on the ball a little bit. He was able to do that now, and he looks pretty good. Now, there are some moments where his timing's a little off and he'll get called for a penalty. I've seen that this summer. I saw it again today on one rep, but I don't know. Overall, I mean, I think he does look the part. Now, I don't know if it's worth the roster spot for him to be a backup safety, maybe a backup corner if you get really desperate.
I mean, he's probably their best backup safety. And I don't think Tristan McCollum's been bad. I think he's been.
Is that including Avante?
Yeah. I mean, I like Avante as a slot. I don't know if I've seen enough of him as a safety to really feel strongly about it. I'm sure he can handle it. I'm sure he'd be fine. The durability thing is part of that equation. I mean, if you could keep either Bradbury or Maddox right now, who are you keeping?
Maddox.
He's got the versatility.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he can play nickel, he can play safety, he can play outside corner in a pinch, he can play the dime position, and he can play special teams. It's not even close.
Oh, I think it's close. Because I think Bradbury is. I mean, he looks like a safety out there. I'm not sure Avante is there yet as a safety. He's more versatile. Although Bradbury's probably his equal as an outside corner. Avante was never a elite outside corner. You're probably right, but I think it's closer than you think.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
We can disagree on that one.
It's fine.
Eagles offense. No surprise here, but it's funny for all the talk we give to the wide receiver 3 position and tight end 2, and it's the AJ and Devontae show just about every day, and today especially. It was funny. They had in their first 7-on-7, there were 6 plays. 4 of them went to AJ, 2 of them went to Devontae, and the ball hit the ground once.
Yeah, why not? And it was on the 7th rep, I assume.
The ball hit the ground? No, it was in the middle.
No, I'm saying it was to the one that wasn't to AJ or Devontae. You said there were 4.
No, there were 6 plays. There were 4 to
7 plays. There were 6 plays.
Oh, there were 6. I'm sorry. Yeah, there were 6 plays.
All right. Yeah.
I said in 7-on-7s.
Oh, gotcha. I heard a 7 in there. Jalen knows where his bread is buttered. Yeah.
And I asked Jalen about this after practice, just, with the rapport he has with AJ Brown and Devontae, like how much does that translate into a new offense? And he went into pretty good detail about a lot of things are different, but that time we've spent together, that's still there. And that still really helps when we're putting this new offense together. Yeah,
I thought that was a thoughtful answer from him. It was a good question. And yeah, it was good to hear him say that because he's usually so contrary. I expected him to kind of play it down, say, no, it's all new. But he went there.
Yeah, and it shows. I mean, they run the offense through those 2 guys, occasionally Dallas Goedert, but really AJ and Devontae. And there were some really nice catches from both of them today. In general, I thought the Eagles offense, it was the one side of the field was Eagles dominated. Their defense just killed the Patriots. The other side was closer because the Eagles offensive line got beat a few times. That Patriots defense is still pretty good. Matt Judon's a really good player, and he showed up today. So there were guys in the backfield. There were some sacks. There were some miscommunications, some false starts. So it wasn't a perfectly clean day for the offense, but when they really did start to cook a little bit, it was to the guys you'd expect.
Yeah, and I don't think any of that's surprising with a first joint practice. It's the first time they've seen a different uniform in practice. They played the Ravens, but for most of these guys, most of the ones, it's the first time playing another team. And they can start out sloppy. They can be sloppy, and you see them kind of get sharper and sharper as the practice goes along.
Yeah, it was funny. The last play for the first team offense was kind of Jalen. He has some pressure in his face. He lofts the ball to AJ, catches the ball with his back to the defender, puts a quick move on, and thinks it's a touchdown. And they ruled him down. He was not happy about it. He said, "In a game, that guy's not tackling me."
Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, AJ does not like having a touchdown taken away from him.
Yeah, and especially because like he didn't come back to the line of scrimmage. They were trying to run another play and they ran out of time. And in his mind, he's like, I was already in the end zone, so it doesn't matter.
He is such a special player, and we don't talk about AJ enough. I mean, we talk about everybody else, but he's his ability to use his body, and he's just so strong and powerful, and his ability to use his body to shield himself from defenders is as good as anybody I've ever seen. You mentioned T.O. did that really well. AJ's obviously not as tall as T.O., but he's just so ripped. He's just so strong, so powerful. He just dictates the play because of his size and his speed and his strength. You watch normal corners and receivers go against each other, and it's this back and forth. I mean, with AJ, it's just like he's dictating everything. It's the plays on his terms, most like 90% of the time, and it's like watching him like a master at work. I mean, it's really something. And I keep going back and forth. Like Kellen Moore's going to spread the ball around more than the Eagles have. AJ's first 2 years here, 1,400 yards might be a little high. And then I see him practice, and I'm like, all right, he's going for 1,600 this year.
Get the ball to 11.
He's that good. Like when there's a rep to AJ, everybody is just watching. I mean, it's just you can't take your eyes off him. And he puts everything into some guys, I don't say they take plays off, but there's different speeds you go, and there's different effort levels in the 2.5 hour practice, 2 hour practice. AJ he is all in on every rep.
Yeah, and the slant is just undefeated. It's always there. It's a go-to. It's going to be there no matter what this offense looks like. It's kind of their cheat code, and at times they don't use it for whatever reason. I would run the heck out of that play. Or not even a play. I would run the heck out of that route for him.
Yeah. I think the 5% of the offense that stayed is the slant.
You know what? The offense did look different today. There was a ton of pre-snap motion. We saw a ton of like orbit motion with Britton Covey. I think when he's out there, you're going to see them move him around a little bit. That kind of falls into what he can do. So it definitely it looked different today than it did last year. And there are days where it looks really different and some days where it kind of looks a little similar. Today was one of those days where it was like, oh yeah, Kellen Moore's here and this is a different offense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Kellen Moore's offense is going to look different in September than December. I think he's just going to keep a lot of stuff that he's not going to show. And he's going to add a little more each week. I think that was part of the problem. Like when Nick said the offense was stale, to me, he meant we're seeing the same things week 16 as we saw week 3. And when fans know what play's coming next, the defense knows as well. I mean, so I think Kellen's going to eliminate that and just kind of keep adding things. And you see them working on stuff. And we might not see that till week 17. But it's there. It's in the playbook. And he talks about kind of establishing trends and then at the perfect right moment, breaking them. And I think we're going to see that. And that's fun.
Yeah, it's different elements to the offense that certainly weren't there a year ago. And you need to see a little bit of that.
Yeah.
You know who had a good day today? John Ross.
Really?
Now, eventually he did drop a pass that he should have caught, and it was in like the move the ball period. So you'd really like him to pull that one down. But before that, he was having a heck of a day. He had a deep catch in 7-on-7s. He had a really tough catch in team drills where he had to like fight back for the football. And sometimes you see an undersized speed guy. He's not fighting for the ball like that. He can be muscled off of it. I thought he did a really nice job coming back to it. So positive sign for him. I still think he's a long shot, but the longer it goes where no one's really solidified themselves outside of the top two, I think that opportunity remains there.
Yeah, and Covey and Johnny Wilson aren't speed guys like him. He brings something different. I think I mentioned on the last pod or a couple of pods ago that I thought he was starting to make progress, and you said, he hasn't played in 2 years. It's going to take some time. So maybe now we're seeing – and he talked about this the last time we talked to him, and it's been probably 2 weeks, but I think there's just a lot of rust there when you just haven't played in that long. And it takes a while. Even though he's played a lot of football in his life, it just takes a while to knock it off, and I think we're starting to see that.
No fights today.
Almost.
If there were fights, we would have led with that, but almost. It was a chippy practice, and Nick Sirianni doesn't want them to fight. He says that's not what they're out here for. But you do want to see them play with a little edge, and I thought we saw like everything up to the line today.
Yeah, the one you could see it coming when they were doing kickoff returns, and Rodgers got hit late. Got kind of, I think they threw a flag on it. I don't know if you saw that rep, but he got kind of.
It was actually Christian Ellis.
Oh, was it Christian Ellis? Yeah. I scribbled that down. I scribbled the number down, but there was a penalty, so I don't know if it was on the hit or what. It was kind of a little beyond what they're supposed to do. But in a game, it would have been clean. But then I don't know if you saw, like, Isaiah he wasn't supposed to take the next rep, but he waved everyone off. He's like, I'm taking the next one. And he lined up next to Gainwell. And then Gainwell got it. It was like a squib, and Gainwell got it and ran down the right sideline, and he got leveled by two guys. And you could tell something was going to happen. And Gainwell just started like punching anybody who was close. Like it only lasted like a couple of seconds. Everybody jumped in, and man, Bradbury got right in the middle of that. I was impressed with that. He was protecting his guys, but Gainwell was trying to, and it was a big scrum, and no punches were really thrown. But Gainwell showed me something, because I think you kind of knew after that hit on Isaiah that something was going to happen on the next play, and it did. So that was about as close as we got to a fight. EJ
Jenkins in there too. So every player with a 4 at the end of their number was involved in that scrum.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah.
There was another one on the other field earlier in the day. Jordan Mailata got in a little like back and forth with who was it? It was Juwan Bentley, the linebacker. So that was fun. Jordan Mailata is probably the last guy on either side of the football that I would mess with. Just a giant. But yeah, it was chippy today, and it was good to see, honestly. Like I thought everyone kind of played it the way you need to play these joint practices. Don't get tossed. Don't break your hand punching a helmet like an idiot. But you also want to protect your teammates. You want to be a little chippy. You want to have that competitive edge. I thought both teams did a good job of that.
Yeah, the last thing you want is it's so easy to break your hand punching somebody in the helmet. It's the dumbest thing. But hey, kids will be kids. But I'm sure both coaches are happy they got out of that with no injuries. Yeah,
exactly. And now there were a few times the guy looked a little hobbled. We saw Tyler Steen is still very clearly battling through that ankle injury. Slay kind of got up limping at one point, but he went back in and actually made his big pass breakup after that. I saw Dallas Goedert kind of missed a wham block and looked a little out of sorts, but then he came back in. So pretty healthy.
Yeah, Lane even mentioned how much Tyler Steen's bothered by that ankle still.
It's obvious.
It's a shame, because I think in a fair fight with Becton, he can compete with him. I don't think he was going to win it, but you just and I give the kid credit. He wants to fight for his job, so he's going to go out there when he's not 100%. But it's tough. It's tough when you're in that position. But I give Steen credit for being out there every day battling.
I do too. And I went back and watched the game from last week, and I thought he played really well. despite the injury. Like he's kind of hobbled in between each play, but he looked fine.
Yeah, you were mentioning on the last pod, and it's kind of tough from where I'm watching to see the lineman without rewatching the game. But I still think it's going to be Becton. It's his job. He got the first reps again. But I give Steen credit for battling.
Yep. You want to take a little break? Any other observations from today that you want to hit that we didn't hit?
I didn't see Jalen Reagor catch any passes.
I heard he caught one. I wasn't really watching the Patriots offense that much.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Okay. My stupid observation of the day was as Nick Sirianni walked away from his press conference with us, there was a Patriots fan in the front row who just yelled at him, Sirianni, Bill's taking your job next year. Nick gave a little quip back, but Boston fans are awfully similar to Philly fans.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, let's take a break. We had a bunch of press conferences, and we'll answer some questions on the other side.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store at nissanusa.com today.
Celebrity cook Steve Martorano brings his Italian-American cooking back home to Philly. Enjoy Martorano's Prime at Rivers Casino and Steve's famous meatballs with Sunday gravy, prime steaks, and more. Make reservations at Martorano's Prime on Open Table. So before practice, Rube, we got a chance to talk to Nick Sirianni. He talked a little bit about the joint practice and why there's only one and what they wanted to get out of it. I think we knew most of that. Anything from Nick's talk that kind of piqued your interest?
No, we talked about his reasoning for only doing the one practice, and it makes sense. It's he sounded disappointed it didn't work out, but other than that, not really. You can tell how much he enjoys these and how much he values them, and his staff values them, and I'm sure they wish. In this flag football game, somebody's being taken onto a stretcher down there. I'm just saying that this is why I don't play in these games. There's a media flag football game, and somebody's literally going on a stretcher. He's okay. He's waving. Anyway, a little play-by-play. No, there's nothing else really from Nick. I wish we talked to Nick after practice so he could kind of talk about what he saw. Yeah.
He was asked about, and this is something I've talked about with you a little bit on this pod, is at what point does Tyler Steen have to start getting reps at other positions if he's going to be a backup across the line? Nick didn't want to go there yet, but he did acknowledge that, we need versatility from our guys. He's not ready to say the right guard competition is over. I mean, I think it kind of is. So, I think it would make sense for Steen to start getting some reps elsewhere, unless the plan is just if something happens to one of the tackles to bump out Becton and insert Steen at right guard.
Yeah. And maybe that is. Maybe Becton's more naturally able to make that change. I don't know. That's a Stoutland question. I think Stoutland, I don't know what he would do. He might do that. He might. If Steen is healthy and they feel like it's close, they might put him at right tackle, a right guard, and move Becton out. I feel like Becton would have an easier job doing that, being a veteran. But then again, he's newer to guard. So it's a good question.
Yeah, and Steen does have experience at tackle. I thought even last year in camp, he looked more comfortable when he was at left tackle. Yeah,
I would agree with that. And he spent the whole offseason kind of getting his body into guard shape. And so that's why I think Becton's, his whole thing about guard and tackle is like, his quote the other day was like, I don't give a bleep. It's just like, he's like, put me at guard, I don't give a bleep, whatever. I'll just play. I just want to play. Cam Jurgens said something really interesting about how Stoutland doesn't teach positions as much as he teaches offensive line. He teaches you how to be a football player. And then you go to the guard, you go to tackle. You said all our guys can pretty much play. I mean, we haven't seen Mulata play guard, but pretty much everybody else can play anywhere. Lane plays quarterback, I guess. But he said, I don't think of myself as it's like people ask about transitioning from guard to center. I'm just playing football as well as I can, and I just happen to be playing center this year. So if you do that, if you prepare for everything. He's like, it's so organic when you change positions. It's not even a big deal. So that's how Stoutland teaches them.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Talked to Cooper DeJean after practice. It's been tough on him. I think watching the first few weeks of practice, he kind of got a little smile when someone asked him if his teammates are giving him a hard time. I think they have been, like in jest, but he's missed significant time here for a rookie in training camp. He said he's kind of just going through the mental reps as much as he can. He's been out there at practice. We kind of see him taking that deep safety look a lot of days now with CJ and Sidney Brown. So he's getting a view at practice, and he's starting to, like he said, he's kind of followed all the positions he could play. So he's still learning slot corner. He's still learning outside corner. And he said he's even like paying attention to safety. He doesn't know where he'll be when he comes back, but I think he really is a super versatile player, and maybe they don't want to overload him, but I think you got to find a way to get him on the field as quick as possible.
Yeah, and it's just going to be a question of how long it takes him to – I mean, he's missed a lot of time. We don't know exactly when between OTAs and camp he got hurt. Sometime in that span, because he was hurt when camp started, obviously. So it could take him a while to get back and to get comfortable going full speed and team and everything. But he's a young guy, he's a smart guy, and we'll see how quickly that process takes. But yeah, you want to get him. I mean, you want to get him on the field. He's going to play. All these guys are going to play. I don't know how, but they're all going to play. The good ones.
You talked to Lane Johnson a little bit today. What do you have to say?
He talked about Kellen's offense a lot, and just said how, kind of what we were just saying, how if the defense doesn't know what's coming, it just makes it harder for them. Like, simply put, it's like if the defense knows what you're going to do, they know how to defend you. And he said I feel like this year more than, I mean, he didn't want to single out anybody, but he said, I think this year we have that where we didn't have it last year, and it goes back into just Kellen Moore's offense being unpredictable and interchangeable and versatile and just different things all the time. So he talked about Darian Kennard and said he's the fastest rising guy in the team, offensive lineman, who played 83 out of 79 snaps on Friday night in Baltimore. He played every snap on offense, and I didn't realize this, but the CBA actually, because of incentives, they changed this a few years ago. So every penalty on offense,
non-play, yeah.
So because you're out there, you're playing the snaps. So there were 5 penalties on offense. He was out there for all of them. They played 78 snaps, so he played 83 snaps. But Lane talked about his versatility and how he was mainly his background's tackle, but he's playing guard, and he said he looks great. He works with him, and he said he's come a long way, and he's really impressed by him. So that was good stuff. Yeah,
that's good. Talk to Jalen Hurts a little bit. Not a ton of illuminating stuff there. I thought the most interesting thing was honestly his answer to my question about the rapport with the two receivers he's been with the longest now. But, man, there were a lot of Eagles fans up here, a lot of Jalen fans. He spent a long time signing autographs on, like, one side of the field to the other.
It makes sense. You can't get into practice at the NovaCare, but you can get in here. I mean, it's easier. If you're an Eagles fan and you're not a season ticket holder and you can't afford season tickets, like 99% of the fans, drive up to Foxborough. Practice is open to fans. Come on up.
No, don't do that. There was only one. So,
yeah, but
if you're listening to this, it's too late.
I think that was Cleveland was open too, right? Was that Cleveland?
I think it's like select fans in Cleveland.
Select fans.
There were more than are typically at the NovaCare.
Yeah, but today was. I mean, it was a lot of people there.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't make it down to that far grandstand, but it was packed. It was a good atmosphere. We talked to BG a little bit, and he was just talking about how much fun it was, reminding all the fans about 2017. you know how BG is. He's like, they were going stuff at me. I was like, boy, what happened in 2017? So he had fun with that. But yeah, BJ had some interesting things to say about Donovan. God, I was just about Jalen. Somebody had a Donovan shirt. I don't know why I said that. I was just talking to somebody about him. Jalen, he said, he might not smile, but he's in a much happier place than he was last year, he said. And he talked a little bit about that. He said, I know you guys give him a hard time for not smiling, but he says he's in a much better place, and it's showing on the field. And he said he's faster. He said he was dealing with a lot of stuff last year, which we kind of knew, but it's interesting to hear BG say that.
Yeah, it's nice to have a player at the end of his career who can say whatever he wants and doesn't have to censor himself.
Yeah.
I asked him which of his teammates today impressed him the most, and he pointed out Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter in the middle of that line. And based on what I saw, they were kind of wreaking havoc a little bit. Yeah,
I thought Jordan Davis had a good day. It's encouraging. I mean, we know it's there. We know he can do it. It's just maintaining it, keeping it going. And that's something we're not going to know till we get to week 6, week 7, week 8. Can he still bring it like he has been?
Anything else from practice today that you wanted to hit that we haven't hit?
No, I don't think so. We hit on most things. I thought it was good, intense work. It was hot. It was a hot day.
I didn't think it was that. It felt pretty cool at the start of the day.
Yeah, at the start of the day, I thought it got pretty hot, but yeah, it was good stuff. Wish we were coming back and doing it tomorrow, but
yeah, me too.
Not gonna happen.
Oh well. Yeah. All right, let's answer some questions. If you want to submit one, it's eagleeye@nbcuni.com. If you're watching on YouTube, you can scan that QR code, send it from your phone. Fancy. First question here from Joel, who's actually in the Navy in Guam right now. So we appreciate you listening from out there, and thanks for your service. There's been a lot of talk about the problems at right guard and a lack of depth at the wide receiver 3 spot. Despite this, the offense has almost universally been lauded for its performance during training camp. How do you reconcile this difference? Isn't it impossible, or at least very difficult with the salary cap, to have a perfect team with no holes? If right guard and wide receiver 3 are so weak, why does the offense seem to be humming along so well?
No, it's a good question. I think, if wide receiver 3 is your big weakness, your offense is going to look pretty good most of the time. And they have functional guys playing there at wide receiver 3. And Mekhi Becton's played pretty well at right guard. And Steen, he only played a couple days with the ones. But I wouldn't say those are weak positions. They're weaker maybe than wide receiver 1 and 2, running back 1, quarterback 1, and O-line. But
I would say they're weak.
I don't think guard's weak. I think
maybe not right guard. Wide receiver 3 is.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. But no team has a Pro Bowler everywhere. Every team right now in training camp is going through, we just don't have a running back. We just don't have an edge rusher. And I'm more concerned, honestly, with some of the things on defense than right guard and wide receiver 3, like pass rush, notably, probably my biggest concern on the team. And still, seeing how linebacker sorts itself out. But you're not going to be loaded everywhere. And when you have AJ and Devontae and Goddard and Saquon and Jalen Hurts, wide receiver 3, it might be weak, like you said, but you can hide it pretty well.
Yeah, that's the thing. You look around the league, there aren't many teams that have the skill position players at the top the Eagles have. So if wide receiver 3 is a little weak, it's it is a problem, but it's tough to really a lot of teams would be pretty happy if that was their biggest problem
right
on offense. And then right guard, even if you can kind of hide a guard a little bit. And if, you have 3 Pro Bowl caliber players on that line, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah. And they keep bringing guys in. They've brought in a bunch of guys, and we'll see how it ends up playing out. But, the offensive line is going to be good. I'm pretty sure it's going to be good, whoever's at right guard.
Yeah, I agree with that. Or at least like better than most.
Yeah.
It's going to be a better than average line.
Yes.
We have a non-football question from Joel if you want it. It's for you. Rube, you obviously love music. What is your opinion on rap and hip hop? If you don't like it, why? If you do, who are your favorites? Do you listen to any of it?
I practice, I do. It's just not my thing.
Okay.
That's all I got on that.
All right. Next is from Jordan. What's up, fellas? Huge fan. I've been watching every episode for years. Originally from York, PA, and moved to North Carolina. My question is, with Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelsey gone, who do you think will fill their spots as team captains? Is CJ GJ team captain material? Another candidate I thought of was Mailata. Thoughts? I can run you through the captains last year. It was Fletcher and Kelsey, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Lane Johnson, Devontae Smith, Brandon Graham, Darius Slay, and Jake Elliott. They had 9 captains last year.
That's like 20% of the roster.
Yeah, you could probably be good with 7, but if you had to replace Fletcher with someone on defense and Kelsey with someone on offense, who would you go with?
I mean, he's new here, but I think Saquon is a possibility. I think he could. I mean, people really respect him and look up to him. Guys, players in the league, like he's just, just because of what he's done.
I think Mailata is a really good one, though.
I think he's an obvious choice. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else really comes to mind. I think Cam this year, probably not.
Yeah.
Eventually, maybe.
He could get there. I think Landon could get there if he's not one yet.
He's not.
Yeah.
But I think Jordan's in front of both of them.
Probably, yeah.
How about on defense? What do you think about CJ? That was a suggestion.
I mean, he wouldn't be a traditional, captain. He's got a different kind of personality, but I don't know. Guys like him, and he certainly brings a lot to the table. He's a good player, and he's practices hard. I could see it.
How about a Devin White? Maybe we have to see the play first, but
yeah, and I don't know. I don't know about Devin White yet, so I'm not ready to go there. There's a lot of guys in transitional phases on defense. That makes it hard to, single them out as captain material.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I think like he does have a little bit of a pull, like a gravitational pull toward him.
Yeah, a lot of really young guys. Like the secondary is all young.
Mm-hmm.
New guys, young guys generally.
You know what? Reed Blankenship would be a candidate.
Yeah. Yeah. But are you convinced he's going to still be starting week 10?
No, but it doesn't mean you can't vote him a captain.
I guess so. Yeah, I'm not sure where he fits in with Vic. Yeah, Vic's, I just don't know. But it's a good name.
Okay. Next question here. Michael from Scranton. After listening to Vic Fangio's pressers paired with some info from the pod, it got me thinking about how aspects of the game come and go, such as the fullback disappearing and the linebacker position becoming more of a cover position. Obviously, the NFL has emphasized safety more and more, but how do you both perceive the future of the game in terms of physicality? Has it evolved to the point hard-hitting linebackers and safeties simply don't have a place in the game anymore? Does it hurt the quality of the overall product? What are your thoughts?
It's a deep question. I don't know the answer. I mean, I know guys like Andre Waters couldn't play today. Wes Hopkins probably couldn't play today.
Have to really alter their play style.
Yeah, and I
think Doc could play today, but he'd have to be a different player.
Boy, I don't. Yeah, he could play. I mean,
he'd be linebacker right now.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm all for safety, and I'm all for moves that make the game safer. And I mean, I know way too many former players that are dealing with CTE issues and have died because of it, and it's just heartbreaking to see what happens. So I'm all for that, but you still want to keep the elements of the game that make us all love it so much too. And a lot of that is just, big hits. So I don't know. I mean, every year there's more and more coming into play to make it safer. I don't know if we'll ever get to that point where what we love about the game isn't part of it, but I don't think we're close to that yet.
No, and look, in general, I'm still watching on Sunday, right? Like it's exciting. It's an exciting product right now. And maybe it's not what we grew up with. It's not like as hard-nosed as it once was, but there's still just such tremendous athletes. And it's an offensive sport now, but I don't know. It's still really fun to watch. So I don't think it's like it's hurting the quality that much.
Yeah, I agree.
Next question is from Jens from Amsterdam. First, have you ever been to Amsterdam? He wants to know. I haven't been there.
I've been to Amsterdam.
Yeah, neither have I. I know my parents have gone. They've been on a European trip and stopped there. I haven't. I would love to go. So I'll take suggestions. His question, do you think the sport of American football in general could benefit from a second tier level? So something similar to minor league baseball, or how some sports in Europe work with like a Premier League and a Championship League. And could you take it a step further where American teams could relegate down and promote up based on how they finish the season? It's a fun idea.
It's a fun idea. I know it's been broached before. I think the problem with it is financial. Like, people don't want to watch second tier football. People love minor league baseball. Like, G League basketball is very inexpensive. Like, to have football, a second level of football, I mean, the expenses, I think, would probably make it unrealistic. I don't know that, but it's a much more expensive sport to put on than 5-on-5 basketball. So I don't know. I mean, there's been so many leagues that have failed trying to not be a minor league for the NFL, but kind of a feeder league. And people just don't support them. Some of them have gone under like really fast. Always these new leagues. So I don't know. I don't know if it's practical. I think it would be great if you could make it work, but I just don't know if there's a way.
Yeah, I think I don't think you'd ever have like teams moving up and down levels.
No.
The teams are established. They're not moving. But I think that like we've kind of seen, the XFL or these other leagues, like I think that's the key for them is to not try to compete. You're not going to compete, but like if you can kind of work in unison with the NFL, I think that makes sense. We've seen some guys play at a different level and then get a call and try out and make the NFL on a roster. I think that's got to be the goal. But it's also different too, because like baseball, it could take a player 5 years to develop before he's ready to play at the major leagues, and he goes on to have a great career. Whereas like the NFL is kind of, your best playing days are earlier. You're not going to be playing that deep into this thing. So you got to get the most out of your body while you're in your early 20s.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Next question here from Kenny. Just wanted to start by thanking you both for what you do. I drive a B-class commercial vehicle and deliver furniture between 5 states, making 2 trips a week, and the pods are always a great listen for me when I'm traveling. Interesting thought I had today while traveling. Should Jalen Hurts win Philadelphia another Super Bowl title, would he then be considered the greatest quarterback in Eagles history? I think you'd have a convincing argument when you factor in the 2022 season. Curious what you guys think, and I have a feeling Rube will never dethrone Randall Cunningham. Thank you both again.
No, I mean, I think Donovan's the greatest so far. You can obviously make a case for Nick for what he did, but he just played so few games here. I think if Jalen, I mean, Jaws got to a Super Bowl, 5 got to a Super Bowl, combination of Guy in Indy and Nick got to a Super Bowl and Jalen got to a Super Bowl. I think if Jalen gets to a second Super Bowl on top of everything else he's done, I think that would probably be, because that would mean, the Eagles have gone, it would mean they've won another 3 playoff games. It would mean they'd gone 12-5 or 13-4, whatever, in the regular season. You add all that onto his body of work so far. I think there's a good chance that he would take that mantle if he won a Super Bowl.
Immediately?
Probably. I mean,
okay. Just wondering how you like balance that against the body of work over a decade from Donovan.
I mean, winning a Super Bowl and the body work. I mean, Donovan, yeah, I mean, got to 5 NFC championship games. That's a lot. But, I mean, and look, you'd have to compare. You have to look at his stats and just how did they get there? How did he do in those postseason games? But, yeah, I would tend to think that he would be number one if they win a Super Bowl this year. 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, 4 straight playoff seasons, 4 straight winning seasons. Yeah, I think probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We will. Maybe.
Next question, or last question here too, from Julian. We've got so many corners, and Slay is a progress stopper. I don't like the way he pumps up his own performance after team losses. I'm sure he's a great leader when things are good, but doesn't seem that way when they go bad. Just my 2 cents. Julian also sent one asking if they should trade Slay. I don't see that from him. I know, I think he's just honest when it comes to his own performance.
Yeah, he's honest about everything, and I think he's still a team guy. He's just different. Progress stopper. He's still their best corner.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now, that might not be true halfway through this year.
Yeah.
But I think he is right now.
Today,
mm-hmm.
He's their best corner. So, and he's so generous with his time with all these young guys, helping them. And I mean, the time he spends on the phone with them, going over film with them and plays, and that's what leadership is to me. It's not the rah-rah stuff. It's Keely Ringo coming over to Slay's apartment when he calls him, and Slay watching film with him on his TV at home. That kind of stuff is real leadership. And Slay is you did a good story on just how important that is to him, and how some of the guys in Detroit when he was a young player took him under their wing, and he's doing the same thing now. So I think if anything, he's helping their progress, not stopping it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the value of having him almost outweighs him having a starting spot that one of them could have.
Yeah, and I'll bet in like 4 years, 3 years, let's say the Eagles starting corners are Ringo. Let's say it's Ringo, Q, Quinyon Mitchell, and Cooper DeJean in the slot. I'll bet all those guys, if we talk to them in 2028, would tell you, man, it was great having Slay for those 1 or 2 years, or 3 years. In some cases, they would tell you that it really set my career on the right path.
Yeah, I agree with you. Thanks for all those questions, guys. If you have one you want to submit, it's eagleeye@nbcuni.com. That's all we have here. We want to remind everyone, if you enjoy the podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click that like button, subscribe there as well. Any final words, Reuben?
No.
Okay, get home safe. I know you got a train out of town. Enjoy that. I know you like trains. I'll be here for the preseason game. We'll get together after that and talk about what we saw.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, for Reuben, I'm Dave. This has been Eagle Eye, presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.